Hey, everybody, and welcome to Classical Stuff You Should Know. This is a podcast mostly about old things, so old books, old notions, old philosophy, sometimes art on occasion, sometimes math on occasion.
We did math?
Yeah, we
I
did.
did Euclid.
Oh, yeah.
Forever ago.
Remember? And I am here with one Beauty and one the Beast. I'll let you guys figure out which is which.
Graham's the beauty, let's be honest. Yeah, it's not even.
Yeah, look at that
So
guy.
I'm the beast? Like, do it. Can I talk like that the rest of this time?
Yeah,
Sure.
It's hard being beautiful.
It's a curse.
I
You
wouldn't
got
know,
the Greeks
but
and
yeah.
you got the Achaeans and the Trojans fighting over you.
Yep.
Oh, you're Helen. Okay, well, this is cool. Okay. Did you say our names? I'm Thomas. He's Graham.
Yep, there you go.
Cool.
That's that.
Living the dream. And we're here to talk about
A tale as old as time.
a song as old
A
as rhyme.
song as old. I almost said old as wine, and that is a misremembering of the
But it could
lyrics.
be, I mean, old wine's great.
Yeah. There's also new wine. It's a line that means nothing.
I was trying to, is that, now I'm questioning the lyric. There's no way that it's wine, though,
It's
right?
no, it's not wine.
Okay,
It's
good.
Disney.
Okay.
old as rhyme, right?
Fair.
Tale as old as rhyme.
Or is it old as time?
Time.
Tale
It's
as
time.
old as time. Song as old as rhyme.
Oh, I bet
Old
that's
as
it.
rhyme, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
We're talking about Beauty and the Beast. Sorry. That's, well, sorry.
If you haven't gathered it already.
Sorry, took
Keep
me a
up.
while to remember my own topic. So we will be talking about, I guess, one of the original versions of Beauty and the Beast. There are, as maybe is not surprising, multiple different versions. We'll talk a little bit about that. One of our AMA questions asked us where we get our inspiration from, and I interpreted that as our inspiration for our episodes. And of course, I'm talking about this because this is one of the stories that my kids are reading as a part of their
I
schooling.
interpreted that
So-
as going on a doomer tirade.
you did. You spoke for, I think, 20 minutes kind of on your own, and then had more to say after that.
And then, sorry, a few minutes ago I stopped you because I said we'd have time during the episode, and I meant mine because it was about warfare,
Right.
so you could continue. I wasn't trying to
I
rain
was
on your
like,
parade.
I was wondering what his doomer tirade had to do with Beauty and the Beast.
Let's get into it. Beauty
no, but
and the
it
Beast.
would have to do with warfare, like Sun Tzu's Art of War. So
which is what you're.
Oh, I see.
right. So I wasn't just trying to shut up. Let's talk about a children's story. It was, hey, we can actually. talk about that
I
on
probably
the
should
episode.
just shut up and talk about children's stories.
I think you'd be happier. I think you'd be a lot happier. Okay, so we're talking about Beauty and the Beast, but I guess to get there, we'll have to get to the book itself. So this is a book. What color is the?
That is a blue book.
This is a blue book, and you all already know the title of this, but our listeners don't. What is the name of this blue book?
Beauty and the Beast. You're showing us the backside.
I know. That's why I didn't want to show you the title.
I do. I have a
I don't
lot
know.
of blue.
If you were to
books.
guess,
You think we pay attention to the things you tell us?
and I don't think you've heard
Is
a
it about
word
Babe
I've
the
said
Blue
for
Ox?
200 episodes.
Is it
So,
about Babe the Blue Ox?
so if you were looking at a book that's blue, what would you name this book?
The blue book.
The blue book. This is the Blue Fairy book.
Oh.
That's the only addition that I would add.
How are
to.
we supposed to know?
It's
the
a blue
title?
book called the Blue Book.
Oh, okay.
But you know, it's called the Blue Fairy.
It is the
book.
Blue Fairy book.
I was thinking Cars.
Why
Blue
were you
Book
thinking?
Value.
I was
Kelly
thinking.
Blue
Oh,
Book?
sorry.
I was doing in-class
I thought you
essays.
meant Cars, the Pixar movie, and I said, what does that have to do with any of this?
Tale
Have
as
you guys
old
ever
as-
seen Planes?
Life is a highway. What?
It's like a Cars spin-off. Planes.
I've heard of this. I've never watched it.
Highly racist.
It's okay.
It's just racial stereotypes. Like, I'm not kidding.
No, that's
Or
not good.
is that like
Even
the
as a
different
kid,
vehicles or
even as
whatever?
like
is
in
that-
high school, I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh,
This is pretty rough.
Racist.
Speaking of racism, let's talk about the. I don't know. Okay, I don't
Sorry
have a
to
segue
derail
for
you
that
there.
one. So, it's the name of this collection of not fairy stories. What would I call this? Maybe I will. It's the Blue Fairy book. So there are
Fairy tales.
fairy tales, but the helpful name literally is just based on the color of the title. This is a part of a broader set of books that will sometimes be called the Rainbow Fairy books. And as you might imagine, there are different colors for each of the different books. So as new ones come out, he just picks a different color. So the first one is blue. The second one is red. Then we go into other colors from there. So not very helpful in terms of like figuring out which one has which story, but they look very cool on a bookshelf. So that's worth something, I'm sure. The book was put together by a Mr. Andrew Lang. Is that a name that rings a bell with anyone? Someone you've heard of before? A friend of yours from back in high school?
Nope.
Nothing? Okay. Andrew Lang is a Scottish academic. I guess he did many things. He wrote stories, he wrote poetry, but he also most famously collected stories. He collected these, let me give my first caveat off the bat. I will say that Andrew Lang collected these stories. What he reveals in a later book, I think it's the Lilac Fairy book, he reveals it's actually his wife who did most of the collection of the stories, and I believe most of the translation of these stories. So I will. So
What's he doing?
putting his name on the front and probably collecting royalties. I don't know. So his wife
Maybe he
is.
picked the colors.
He might have. He might not have even done that. I really can't say. But his wife is. It's Leonora Blanche Lang after getting married. And so while I will say Andrew Lang's name many times, to be more precise, it's very likely Leonora or the two of them together who actually put these books together, actually did these translations. So yeah, he collects these fairy tales, and then he is not writing them himself, right? He is getting them from other sources, compiling them into these books, and then we now have them to this day. As we'll see with Beauty and the Beast, what he has is one version of the story. It's not to say it's like the version of the story. All right, a question you might have off the bat is, why is he putting these books together? What are some reasons a person would put a book of fairy tales together?
Children and cash.
Okay, I like those as two reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say that was something that maybe he was doing for his kids.
Yeah.
Or to record his culture. Like if Scotland is rife with stories, we don't want to let those go away.
We got all the big ones. So, this is interesting. So, he is collecting stories. They're from all different kinds of countries. So it's not just from Scotland. But so Beauty and the Beast, it's a French story. And so it'll get added in here, be translated. So we'll have, but he's collecting them from, I want to say all over the world, but I'm sure it's, I'm sure if I plotted out a map of all the places where stories came from, it's not literally the whole world, right? But it's not just Scottish stories that he's collecting. So that's a great answer of wants this collection of them. He'll have this kind of description of he's doing this to capture these old ideas, to capture these old. I have not seen him use the word archetype in this way. I'm sure it's in there, but it's kind of like capturing the imagination of a younger age or an earlier, more primitive age. That's a part of it, is what he wants to not forget these stories, to not lose these stories. He is also an academic, so he's researching these stories to kind of draw out meanings or why these stories exist. So there is a kind of functional component to it. But then there is this piece of they're stories for kids. This is the preface. The preface. This is line 1 of the first book of all these fairy stories. This is Andrew Lang writing. The tales in this volume are intended for children who will like, it is hoped, the old stories that have pleased so many generations. And then after that, it's just a bunch of translation notes. Does that strike you in any way? Is there anything that have any hackles been raised by my one sentence there, which I'll read again? The tales in this volume are intended for children who will like, it is hoped, the old stories that have pleased so many generations.
Nope, my hackles aren't raised.
Okay,
It sounds okay to me.
cool.
Should I have my hackles raised?
I think so.
Am I being played for a fool?
Always in every episode, AJ. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here.
You're not going to reveal halfway through the episode that this is Marxist literature and you've got us invested in it like you did that one episode.
Still a highlight of this podcast for me.
Oh, what was it?
It was the history of common
It was
life.
the people's history of...
And it was
And then
critical theory,
Critical
right?
theory. It was all critical theory, and I revealed it at the end. And that episode went
we were
really
being
poorly.
polite as we were
You were
listening
being
to
very
it.
polite,
And
and then
thus started our
got
history as
you.
nemesis.
yeah, that's exactly it. Yep, me, the resident communist. So forever ago, we did an episode on an essay by Tolkien called "On Fairy Stories." Does this ring a bell? So, "On Fairy Stories," I will not recover it here. It's a long. It's a long essay.
Is my hackles that this is just for children and not for adults?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
Okay,
If that would
'Cause
raise
most
anything
fairy
for you.
stories would be acceptable to both.
Or let's think of when Tolkien's writing fantasy, which may or may not be a fairy story. We don't need to go into distinctions. It's not important. But in writing about fantasy, that often will get called kid stuff, right? It's a kid's kind of literature, kid's kind of book. He's opening off the bat by saying, this is for children. I think we spent some time with Aesop saying that they've kind of been reinterpreted as for children, but I think there's a wisdom there that is for anyone who wants to spend time with the stories.
So is he essentially excusing himself from criticism? Of course you don't like it. It's for kids.
That's interesting. I view it more as kind of a condescending, like, these are but mere children's stories. And even I kind of made reference to this, but it's kind of a like, these like more primitive peoples have these kind of stories that like
delight children.
Yeah, that are for children. When like really, it's probably the wisdom. Of
the culture.
The people of like, here's the greatest thought, or not the great.
Like calling the Iliad, 'tis but a mere children's story about warfare.
I see what you're saying.
I think that's exactly right. And so there is a kind of. We won't really go into it here, but I just kind of want to flag that in reading it, there is a kind of, I would say maybe condescension or maybe a kind of like smugness of like, this is for kids. This isn't like real quote unquote literature or real quote unquote stories. Tolkien picks up on this on fairy stories. So he actually talks a lot about Andrew Lang in that speech. And I should even say that I call it an essay. He wrote it as a speech for, do you want to guess? He wrote it for a lecture series. What's the name of that lecture series? The Andrew Lang Lecture.
Oh, there you go.
At the University of St. Andrews.
Good job, buddy.
Which is where Andrew Lang taught. This was after Lang had died.
What was he a professor of?
I was going to say philology, but that's Tolkien. Is it anthropology? Am I right? Let me make sure I'm right on that one.
It's fine.
But he at least went to, I know he went to University of St. Andrews to get his education. And then, I don't have it here. He studied something. It was very interesting. But then University of St. Andrews then started this lecture series, the Andrew Lang Lectures, and Tolkien would eventually speak on it. And he prepared his remarks on fairy stories for that lecture series in particular. The speech then ends up being an essay and has a life of its own, kind of separate from this Lang connection. But Tolkien is fairly critical of Lang in the lecture.
For this reason?
Yeah, this is one of the points he makes. So Tolkien deals with this topic of like, are fairy tales just for kids? And he would say no, because good fairy tales are for anyone. Yeah. And it's I think the Odyssey or the Iliad is a great comparison of there's a lot that kids can be interested in, and there's a depth to it that really sustains the test of time. Like really can bear multiple readings, and like
they teach great truths, right? Like the truth of Beauty and the Beast is that like things are lovable once you love them, right? It's until you love something that you transform it into being lovable.
Yeah.
And that's like not just a lesson for children.
And I think we'll get to when we get there there's a way that these stories kind of, at least this one, again, I'm starting with one in particular, kind of wears its theme on its sleeve. Like it's pretty upfront with what it's about. And I wonder if that is something Lang is kind of putting on top of it, because if you come at it from, this is for children, I need to interpret it for children, therefore let's be really clear of what.
So let's put a little moral at the beginning or a moral at the end.
So you like really now,
because you don't have a moral in the Iliad. Like you don't. It doesn't say like, all right, gather around kids.
I talked in a previous AMA about like my kids, because I read it's an adapted version. It takes some parts out, but I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey to my kids, and like they're really stuck on who are the good guys, right? And like that's kind of the question, right? Or like there is no clear. Yeah,
I mean Hector,
but he's fighting on the wrong side. Like that's my problem with it.
No, he's fighting on the right side.
No. Paris started the thing.
Yeah,
exactly
but
right. He can't kill his brother, so he's sort of stuck.
That's the part. That's being stuck is the point. Is like who's the good guys and bad guys when a good guy is stuck for the bad reason because he can't kill his brother.
And I also admit that he did run away from Achilles at the very end.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Let me read this from Tolkien talking about this "Are fairy tales for kids" idea. This is again, it's from On Fairy Stories, an excellent essay. You should go read it on your own. I have said perhaps more than enough on this point. At least it will be plain that, in my opinion, fairy stories should not be specifically associated with children. They are associated with them, naturally, because children are human, and fairy stories are a natural human taste, though not necessarily a universal one. Accidentally, because fairy stories are a large part of the literary lumber that in latter-day Europe has been stuffed away in attics. Unnaturally, because of erroneous sentiment about children, a sentiment that seems to increase with the decline in children. So there are these like three reasons. One's a good reason, one's a mixed reason, one's a bad reason. It is true that the age of childhood sentiment has produced some delightful books, especially charming, however, to adults, of the fairy kind or near to it, but it has also produced a dreadful undergrowth of stories written or adapted to what was or is conceived to be the measure of children's minds and needs. The old stories are mollified or Baudelarized instead of being reserved. The imitations are often merely silly. Pigwig gentry without even the intrigue, or patronizing, or deadliest of all, covertly sniggering, with an eye on the other grown-ups present. I will not accuse Andrew Lang of sniggering, but certainly he smiled to himself, and certainly too often he had an eye on the face of other clever people over the heads of his child audience, to the very grave detriment of the Chronicles of Pantophilia. Lang collected a bunch of fairy tales. That's what these rainbow fairy books are. He also wrote his own fairy tales, and those are more like tongue-in-cheek, like it's taking the how the genre is typically done and twisting it a little bit to kind of have like a wink at the audience of.
Well, it sounds like not the audience, a wink at the
adults.
The
adults
people reading it, yeah.
So, like, you're reading this story and the author is talking to you, Dad, reading it at bedtime, and it goes over the head of the kid.
And he'll have an example here where it's like the hero will kill a bad guy and then have this long diatribe of whether killing is right or wrong. And it's like, yeah, but the hero won. Like, the kid should be able to just unreservedly cheer at this, and you're adding all this complexity for the adult, who's like also.
And Tolkien is saying that that's
bad.
That this is kind of undermining, undermining the magic of the book itself, the story itself.
And part of.
I agree with that. I think I'm on Tolkien's side with this.
Yeah, I agree. So for the purpose of this episode, I'm going to start into Lang's version of Beauty and the Beast, and then in the in-between, we'll talk a little bit about some differences between this version and other popular versions. So I'm probably not going to get that in the main episode. Some of it's a little risque. I don't know. I don't really want to put it on the main episode, so we'll save it for the in-between.
Because the problem is like at some point that kid grows up and is beginning to see the wink.
Yes.
And that creates a little crisis in, oh man, everything that I grew up enjoying is an adult joke on me. And I feel like that's a really bad thing to do to a kid, because then they start thinking that like they're like the things that they believed in when they were children is really just a trick played on them by adults, and now I'm becoming an adult, and you sort of now have this like
you have to do the tricking.
You either have to do the tricking, or you sort of realize that like the relationship between old and young is a relationship of like mockery, and I think that's really bad. That's a really sort of it's not you don't love a child if you do that.
Yeah, that's I've told. I think it's probably only been. I keep referencing AMAs. If you are a Patreon supporter, you get to listen to our monthly conversations. They're great. You should listen to them. The favorite thing that my kids have been reading recently has been this adaptation of the Iliad and the Odyssey, also Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Now, it has to cut out some stuff that is like, I would not want to read to my children, but otherwise is a faithful version of that story. And then otherwise it's the, I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's the book of Greek myths. The name is D''Auleres, Dolores. I don't know. But presenting to them something that is, they are just like versions of stories that I hope they will actually read when they're older, right? It's not just, here's a throwaway book you're reading because you're a kid, but here's something that is comprehensible to you, but the content is still good. Like that's what I want to spend time with them reading. And that's something that I hope doesn't have that disillusionment you're describing.
It's important. I was reading my Commonplace book, Plugs for Commonplace Books, last night, and I came across an old quote that I had written from St. John Chrysostom, where he's talking about on the education of children. And he's talking about that, like, just like with a wax seal, the imprint that you make on the wax seal when it's pliable will last forever. So too the moral formation of a child. And so like the things that you read in childhood, or maybe even just what we were talking about before, like if someone is reading something in childhood and grows up and realizes that they were all just little jokes played on them by the adults, that is a moral formation that is going to make that kid pretty cynical. So the moral formation, like you need to the books we read to kids should be ones where we as the adults reading them are like cut to the heart of how good the hero is in comparison to modern life or whatever. And we say like, oh man, I should be like the cowboy or the knight or the whatever you're reading.
Yeah.
But it's not like pedantic and saccharine, but it's like, it's actually, interesting and inspiring and not overly simplistic, like you're saying. We read the Iliad where my kids are like, who are the good guys and bad guys? And it's like, well, sometimes like that is a question we don't know how to answer when we're old too.
Right.
But JJ's point, like the guy on the side that started the war is also the most virtuous or the most honorable character in the book, and there's a tension there. So.
Yeah, I like that. Now I don't want to. I'm not intending to totally dunk on Lang because, like, I find the story. I think this is. I guess it's unfortunate when we look at other versions of the story. There are parts of it that feel unnecessary to the story itself. That would then make it like you would never read that to a child. And there's a lot of like Lang will in this version. There's a lot of backstory that is not included because I don't think it's important. We'll get into it in a little bit, but there are parts of it that I think it's helped by a shorter version, made appropriate so that like kids can read it. Like there are benefits to this approach, so I don't want to be totally negative on it, but just want to flag that this is not the only version, and there's some question of like a Lang approach versus others.
Can I read a quote that our discussion just brought up? That's
Yes.
why I was Googling. I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's what I
just sort
saw.
of like
Yeah.
checking my email.
Yeah.
But it's from C.S. Lewis in his Introduction to Paradise Lost. He says, "There is therefore a special reason why mythical poetry ought not to attempt novelty in respect to its ingredients. What it does with the ingredients may be as novel as you please, but giants, dragons, paradises, gods, and the like are themselves the expression of certain basic elements in man's spiritual experience. In that sense, they're more like words, the words of a language which speaks the else unspeakable, than they are like people and places in a novel. To give them radically new characters is not so much original as ungrammatical." So I was thinking about that Lang book where he sort of like does wink wink at the adults.
Yeah.
Anytime you take something that should be a dragon, which is an expression of some sort of spiritual element of humanity, and you make it like a dragon that loves to shop,
Right.
like you've killed what it's ungrammatical. It's not novel. It's not original. It's you are breaking something that shouldn't be broken.
Yeah.
So a hero should be a hero and be okay to say like, I should have killed that dragon. That's my duty, instead of thinking, is killing okay? Like that kind of thing. It was just, you said that and I was like, I know exactly.
Did Twilight make you lose your mind? Like, isn't that the whole thing too of like vampires can actually be okay?
And sparkly, like it's...
But this is every children's book. Now, every children's movie is the reimagining of the old story into
something it shouldn't be.
Into something it shouldn't be, to sort of answer some sort of present cultural thing. So, like,
The bad guys are misunderstood.
The monster is not a terrible monster. He's just misunderstood, and as soon as he's sort of like welcomed into the friend
bloom.
group, he welcomed into the friend group, you all sort of get this like richer depth of experience.
And like I understand the impulse to want to train children into how to accept their friends, but monsters exist.
Correct.
And they don't exist because they're pure evil. They exist because they're twisted.
Yeah.
And we can recognize that a thing can be twisted and yet be a monster.
Correct.
And those things like need to exist in the world. Or say dwarves in books as the expression of like there are two coins to a dwarf, right? The healthy acceptance of like diligence and appreciation of beauty, or greed. Like that's what a dwarf is supposed to be.
Deep.
Right? Yes, mining too deep. A healthy dwarf is one who builds, who digs, and who appreciates beauty and drinks with his friends. And then there's a dwarf who does damage by digging too deep.
And it is true that the twisted monster can be healed and can be brought into community through love and acceptance,
right?
But not acceptance of the twistedness. The twistedness becomes straight upon the love and acceptance, which is probably also the Beauty and the Beast. If the book ended with the beast not turning into a man, but he's just sort of like loved for his beast, that's probably the wrong version of this. But the fact that he's turned into, I mean, I think a lot of what people don't like about fairy tales is that they are advocating a sense of normalcy in human affairs. And I think as modern people, we don't like the concept of normal. We think that is an offensive term, that there is a normal way of living life is deeply offensive, that in sort of the panoply of expressions. Or whatever.
And something you just said, that the monster's twistedness becomes straight when he is accepted. I don't think that's it. I think he gets accepted once he has straightened.
Yeah, you're right. There is some sort of there is a moral change in the monster that makes like
there's always a thing like you have to go through the hard thing. And it makes me think of Eustace in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, right? So Eustace is broken, and at some point he like gets greedy, gets himself into trouble, and Aslan says like I have to do something to you, and it's going to hurt. But after that happens, the kid's straightened out.
Mm-hmm. But even before Eustace was straightened out, there was like a begrudging acceptance of Eustace. I mean, they were trapped on a boat, but there was like a begrudging acceptance of Eustace being around.
Yeah.
So at some attempts were made to try to love Eustace that he rebuffed because he was a little twit.
Yeah.
But then you're right. Then Eustace had to go through the moral formation, and then there's that really great scene where Eustace comes and he seems to be changed, and one of the guys on the boat is like, "I don't believe it." And it's up, and then it's like the actual courage of his cousins. I think it was Edmund or whatever, to actually accept Eustace. And there was even a whole chapter where it says Eustace didn't immediately become amazing. Like he still was annoying for a little bit, but every day he was a little bit slightly less annoying. Mm-hmm. And that's and I think Lewis is pretty understands human nature when he's writing that.
Yeah, and then there are things like the witch, which is so twisted it is now unredeemable because she refuses to be redeemed. She doesn't want what you're offering.
Yeah.
And
but
she
there
would
are
rather
characters that want
abuse the
to,
good.
but they want to like bring her back, right? They want to bring the white, depending on which book you're reading, like they want to bring the White Witch back, or like they want to use that power. Like, it's like it's not because she's actually good. It's because they're evil, right? It's to make that point instead.
Like evil, it's okay to say evil is a real thing, and before we accept it into our community, it has to figure out how to not be evil, and if it doesn't do that, like we should shun it and we should defeat it. Like that is a thing.
Yes, which I think you'll see. Well, maybe not. Yes, that is how these fairy tales are structured, right? Whereas,
the modern story is it's not evil; it's just misunderstood.
Yes,
and once we sort of look at evil from evil's point of view, we now have like a richer tapestry of life or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the classical understanding is like, okay, how it got to be where it is maybe understandable. It is still yet twisted and must untwist before we can accept it.
Yeah, this was reminding me of the like Sympathy and Satan episode that we did a long time ago.
Yeah,
which is sort of asking this question. It's like you can understand how Satan got to where Satan's at, but that is not a justification for where the evil is.
Yeah,
yeah.
Although I think a lot of us confuse that and say that it is a justification for the evil because we understood it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all those people who love like serial killer podcasts or something.
Oh, you think it's to get sympathy for the killer?
I think so. I think a lot of people listen to these things and are like, I can understand where he's coming from because of
I get angry
abuse when he was a kid.
Too.
Yeah, where he all these sort of terrible things that happened to him when he was young, and now he's killing people. I think we don't look at the crime and we sort of sympathize with the killer as I don't know why. I don't know why what there is. It's like I think we feel like we're being merciful.
Well, and I think we know that there's wrong in our own lives.
Yeah.
And if we can have mercy on him, maybe we deserve some as well.
Yeah, maybe it's
I think maybe that's a piece of it.
I think that's probably
but there are people who are abused and don't go and become serial killers, right? And are determined to live their lives better and help the downtrodden.
Yeah.
Which is a different, better end.
Yeah. We got this question a while ago of like at what age should you teach a kid like the nuance between good and evil? And my answer was never, and you all had much better answers than that. But what you all are saying is why my answer is never, of like there should be no nuance for the person who's like gone out and killed people serially, right? Like that is a evil thing that is done. And you should not teach like they might have been good, or like it's not their fault that certain things happen.
There's always there's a choice.
Yes.
You can choose to turn around and not do those things anymore.
Yes.
But there are many who don't.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to start in on the story.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, this is great. This has been really good. Okay. So Beauty and the Beast. For 100,000 points, what are the first 4 words of the story?
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
Oh, point Hindenburg.
No, 100,000.
100,000 points.
Inflation has really hit the podcast. So 1 point doesn't buy what it used to.
This is great because we're doing a quiz show for my episode next.
Good.
I was going to say there was a beast, but I was wrong.
That answer is much funnier, though.
Was so hot.
Once upon a time, in a very far-off country, this is like classic fairy tale stuff, there lived a merchant who had been so fortunate in all his undertakings that he was enormously rich. As he had, however, 6 sons and 6 daughters, he found that his money was not too much to let them all have everything they fancied, as they were accustomed to do. So we got a merchant. He's got 12 kids. He's got 6 daughters, 6 sons, and he's
Spoils and rotten.
Well, yeah, he tries to, but the money doesn't go as far as he wants, And unfortunately, one day this merchant loses all of his ships. So all of the cargo he has, all of the things that he's supposed to make money off of, sink in the ocean. All the money's gone. They have to move. It's not too far. I don't know. It sounded like Sense and Sensibility of like they have to move. They have to kind of start a new life for themselves. The main character, whose name, as you might imagine, is Beauty. Beauty chooses to have a good attitude about this, but all the other daughters do not have a good attitude. The sons are kind of okay with it. But they move to a smaller cottage. They start working the land. They kind of figure things out. They make it work. After a while, news comes that one of the ships has been rediscovered. So one of the merchant's ships that they thought had sunk is actually coming back to harbor.
All right.
And so all the family gets really excited, and they start asking for things. The daughters want dresses and jewels, and the sons want, I don't know, swords and
iPads.
iPads and
drones,
cool hats. And so
I kind of want a drone too.
They go to their dad and they're like, "Dad, you need to go take this really dangerous journey to go to where the ship is landing." So he's going to be gone for like 6 months. They're like, "Yeah, you should go do that. We're going to not harvest any of our plants because so much money is coming our way. We don't have to worry about this. You go risk your life to go buy us iPads and cool hats, and then come back to us and bring us our money."
Oh,
so 11 of the 12 kids do that, but one doesn't. So the daughter, Beauty, says, "All I ask, Father, is for your safe return. All I want is for you to come back safely." And
is her name Belle or just Beauty?
Beauty. In this, it translated to be just Beauty.
Oh, that makes sense.
So Beauty says that. The father's like deeply moved by this, and he says, "But Beauty, I must get you something. Like if I'm getting all this fancy stuff for your siblings, like please let me get you something." And she says, "All I ask for is a rose. It's all I ask for is that you bring yourself back, but that you come back with a flower as well." The father's happy to do so, starts on his journey, leaves the house, goes to where the harbor is, where this boat is supposed to be, and it turns out that his coworkers, the people for this merchant company, thought that the father had died, and so because they thought that, they didn't hold on to any of the money. The ship with the cargo came back. They sold all the stuff. They split it amongst themselves and then kind of scattered after that. So there's no money. There's nothing for him to collect. So big bummer. So the father then needs to come back to his kids. And so he is, taking a horse. He's coming back, and it is it's cold. It's snowy. I think he has to sleep in a tree at some point, but he's like shivering the whole time. He hears wolves all around him. And as he's traveling back, he stumbles upon this area, an avenue of trees, which ended in a splendid castle. It seemed to the merchant very strange that no snow had fallen in the avenue, which was entirely composed of orange trees covered with flowers and fruit. When he reached the first court of the castle, he saw before him a flight of steps and went up them, passed through several splendidly furnished rooms. So he comes...
walks right in.
He walks right in,
trespasses.
which is not ideal. But sees this beautiful castle. He's having a rough time on his ride back to his family, so he decides to stop and trespass. And
I feel like this was more common back in. I feel like when
you just walk up to a...
Well, when people traveled by foot, when people traveled by horse and by feet, like I think a lot. This was a lot more of a common occurrence and less like weird than we think it is as modern people.
Because it sounds a little weird.
Just it sounds a little weird, but it's like I don't know.
So, but he's
Maybe
polite.
not walking right in the house.
And that's so.
And if you had guards or something, I mean, you would.
And there's
like,
no
I
one
would
there.
assume that there was a footman in a castle like that.
So in this one, there's no one. In other versions of the story, there are like what appear to be living statues. So they look like people, but they're statues. In this one, there's no reference to that.
There's not like a French candlestick.
There's no French candlestick. There's no talking.
Lumière.
That's right. No talking clock. So the father walks in and he sees a table set with a beautiful meal, and he assumes it's for someone else, right? Why would he think it's his? And so he doesn't eat that food. He kind of finds a place to sit down, but he falls asleep because he's super tired. He wakes up, and there's suddenly a little table set up just in front of him with like a separate meal.
Aw.
And he's like, well, this one must be for me. So he chooses to eat that food. He wanders around the castle, doesn't see anyone, which is very strange.
Can we be clear that eating that meal was a mistake?
Yeah, never eat magic food.
You think so?
Yeah, when you're in an enchanted castle,
You would not
if
go for that?
food appears in
Yeah.
front of you, you don't
go for
touch
that?
that.
Okay.
Especially with there nobody else in the castle, like
Yeah.
you know they're enchanted.
This is funny. Okay, so he eats the food
As
and
a rule.
wanders the castle. Nothing bad happens. He finds a place to take a nap. He takes a nap, and he does this for a couple days. Then
read the lore, man. Don't do. What are you doing?
Is he getting free food for a couple of days?
he's getting free food. He's like well rested. I want to say it's 1 or 2 nights that he sleeps.
He's gonna
or
wander out of
something.
that castle to be like 1,000 years have passed or something.
So I would like that would be a good fairy tale. I like that. So he does eventually realize, hey, I need to go home to my family. So he is walking to go get his horse when he passes by a rose bush, and he says, "Oh, I need to get my flower for beauty." So he goes over to the bush, plucks a rose. Immediately, as soon as he does that, so sorry for listeners, you can't see this,
look
but
at
this guy shows up.
Is that an elephant?
Can you describe what you're looking at right now?
Can you show it more in my direction?
Yeah, sure. Does that
It
help?
looks like an angry elephant with hands
Okay.
is popping out of the rose
But
bushes.
he's hairy
He is hairy.
and he's got tusks. Like
He does have
Big
tusks.
turned up
tusks. Like it's like a warthog with an elephant nose and ears like a cat.
Okay. I was thinking warthog plus elephant.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
So,
An elehog.
He's wearing a jacket though.
kind of jacked. Is that what you just said?
He was wearing a little jacket.
And he's got man,
wearing
and
a
he's got
jacket,
man
sorry.
hands.
He does have man hands. But so a beast shows up. So again, the illustration here I would compare to again elephant with giant tusks, but bipedal, so can stand on 2 legs, but dressed in clothes as well. So it's like a gentleman who happens to look like an elephant, a very furry elephant. So this guy pops out of nowhere and he yells at is going after the dad. Who told you that you might gather my roses? Was it not enough that I allowed you to be in my palace and was kind to you? This is the way you show your gratitude, by stealing my flowers. But your insolence shall not go unpunished. So the food was fine. The food was apparently a gift from this guy who we'll call the beast from here on out. The beast had given the food to the father. That was fine, but taking the flower was the step too far.
I get it though. I mean, like you put all that effort
A
into
lot of guys
growing
are
plants.
passionate. Yeah,
You give
a lot
and
of
you
guys are
give.
passionate about their garden.
Like, is he cutting it in the right spot? Is he doing it right above a bud? Is he just like plucking it willy nilly? Like these are
great questions that I don't have the answer to. So
Understand.
yeah, I'm so sorry. I'll
Checks
do
out.
better. Yeah. So the merchant thinks he's about to get killed. So he explains his whole life story. Basically, he's like, "I'm so sorry. I got stuck in this snowstorm. I had to find a place to go. Blah blah blah." So the beast
I
is
understand how you got to your evil, but it's not an excuse for the evil.
the beast responds exactly that way. The beast is kind of listening, and he goes, "You know what? I'm willing to let this go. I am willing to forgive you for stealing a flower if you bring back to me one of your daughters to live with me forever." So I will not kill you as long as you bring back one of your daughters to
That's
live with me
so
forever.
sketchy.
It is super sketchy. And he's also like, she has to come of her own accord. You can't trick her. So you have to tell her she's going to live with the beast. She's going to be here forever, can never see you again. Like you have to tell her what's actually happening. You can't lie to her, which is just a funny, like this very noble beast is.
One way to charm a father-in-law.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I will be upfront with my intentions to live
gonna
with her
stay here
forever.
forever.
But the
Yeah.
girl that comes is going to be one that like, is going to tough out his beastliness.
Yes.
Right.
Someone who knows what
So
they're
if
getting
someone
into.
was tricked, then you've got this like girl that's in your house that doesn't want to be there.
Yes.
But if you get the girl that comes on her own accord, then you've got someone who's at least has like a grain of nobility about her because
Yes.
she's doing this to protect her father.
Yes.
And
But now you've got a dad who wants to raise an army against you because you've got
Sure.
his daughter and
yeah. I mean, I'm not
because
saying
of a rose
the
thing.
beast is he's not in a good spot.
No.
This is pretty rough. So there's no real reason given for this other than the trade of the flower for a daughter. But again, we'll talk in the in between. There are some with backstories that say why the beast has to do this. But
And is the dad thinking, well, I got 12.
kind of though. So the father agrees because otherwise he'll get killed. So what are you going to do? And the beast then gives him a horse that's going to go directly to.
You die for your children. That's what you do.
That's the thing, exactly right. Thank you, Graham. So the beast gives this horse to the father, it's like a homing missile. It goes like directly into the father's house, and in a month it will bring him directly back to the beast's castle. So I don't know. There's all kinds of magic stuff happening. So the father goes back to his house, explains the situation, and immediately all of the daughters blame Beauty. They're all like, "This is your fault for asking for a flower," which is hilarious. It's very funny. Of like, you brought this on us.
Not that creepy old man for wanting someone to go live with him for
It's
forever.
not the beast's fault. It's all Beauty's fault.
And the dad couldn't have invited the beast. Say, "Hey man, it looks like you're pretty lonely.
Yeah.
We got a great little cottage. We could like join our
Make
households."
this work. It's also, I mean, like all the 11 other kids had been like total rotten, like asking for they want to spoil themselves with the wealth that they were supposed to get, but it's Beauty's fault for asking for a flower, which is funny. So Beauty ultimately agrees to go back to the castle, that she will make this trade. She will, to save her father's life, she's willing to lose her own, essentially, to just be with this beast forever. The sons talk about, like, should we go and like attack the castle? Like, should we try and stop this from happening? But ultimately, it's like, is piety the right word? It's like Beauty's response is enough that they're like, no, we're going to do this the right way. That the father technically took something, the beast made this deal, the father agreed to it, Beauty's going to be is willing to go. That's how we're going to resolve this.
And the economy was weird back then.
It sounds like it. Well, she's going to have like fancy meals made for her all the time, so I don't know. And
Fair.
no snow, lots of
great
oranges.
garden.
Yeah, doesn't sound
Not bad.
other than the whole stuck with the beast. So they agree to that. Beauty and her father go back to see the beast, and the Beauty is very scared this entire time because it's a hulking elephant warthog man is the person that she's going to a castle of. But she holds on. She keeps her fear under control, and
It's a common fear amongst arranged marriages, though, right?
of an elephant warthog man being who
you're
you're
just being
stuck
married to
with.
some beast.
Yeah. Well, yes. So she goes to his castle. They exchange pleasantries, which is very funny. They'll say good evening to each other.
Is this an arranged marriage story? Is that what's
Kind of, right?
like where this is coming from?
Well,
To train young women to be okay with arranged marriages?
No, it's the ultimate answer is that people are made lovable by being loved, right?
we'll get to the moral because we have our first dream sequence that will lay it all out. There's also like a real guy who might have motivated this story. Petrus Gonsalvus, gentleman in the court of Henry II of France. Did this come up in any of your stories? I'm just going to, again, this will be one where I'm
He's a
showing
horrible
Graham and
young
AJ a
man.
picture. So I'm going to show you a picture. I want the first word that comes to your mind when you see this picture. Are you ready?
Ugh.
Oh,
A hairy dude.
Hairy dude. You can't say yours? Is that what's happening?
isn't there a hairy creature in the Addams Family?
Yeah.
Mr.
Is that
Cousin It.
Cousin
Cousin
It?
It.
Yeah.
Looks
Cousin
like
It
Cousin
is
It.
what I was
He
going to say.
probably-
Wolfman. Doesn't that look like
he's a
Wolfman?
man.
Yeah.
He's got
He's a hairy
like
guy.
that. He's got that disease, right? Where you're
So there's a guy with the hairy man disease. So he
and he was a nobleman. He had
Yeah.
to like marry some girl and
yes,
Oh.
he's referred
inspire
to
the fairy tale.
The poor guy.
I know.
Isn't a fairy tale written about him?
He's referred to as the man of the woods. He was notable for his unusual hairiness, which attracted attention throughout his life and beyond. It's hypertrichosis.
Yeah.
So he's like the first prominent person of prominence to have this condition. But he looks like a wolf man. He's like very hairy on his face. And there is a
And if any of our listeners have that, you are a wonderful.
you are a wonderful
and we
human
accept
being, and
you.
I'm glad
There's
you're a part of this. Yes.
Nothing wrong with it.
We will not call you beast, but that it's believed that the marriage between this guy and Lady Catherine may have partially inspired the fairy tale Beauty and the Beast. So there you go. There's a real person. All right. So Beauty decides to go to the castle and she's charming. She's pleasant. Like she's very kind to the Beast. And the Beast also is like, he's actually kind of respectable. Like they talk for an hour the first time that they meet. Like he's not just like a snarling creature. Like it really is just, he's pleasant maybe is too strong a word. He's a little gruff, but he is able to be spoken with, but just happens to look like a beast, super ugly. So that's when Beauty and the Beast meet for the first time, and then the Beast sends the father back home, presumably, as Beauty understands it, never to be seen again. And then after this, Beauty just starts walking around the castle, and most of this book, most of the story is her going room to room, seeing what there is all around. There's a cool room she'll find later that's just filled with well-trained birds that like all can repeat her name to her.
That's so
and
cool.
She thinks she's walking across the entire castle to the distant side. She sees this room with the birds, and she's like, I wish this was right next to my room. And then she opens the door, and it's her room. So this castle is just like moving rooms around all the time. Anyway, it's very fun. So with that, we have so the first night that Beauty is there, she goes to sleep and she has a dream. And in the dream, she meets two people. The first one she meets is a very handsome looking young prince. I'm showing you all the picture.
Very handsome.
Very handsome. You can't really tell from this. It's not detailed enough. He's a very handsome man, according to the story. So this man tells her, Beauty, you are not so unfortunate as you suppose. Here you will be rewarded for all you have suffered elsewhere. Your every wish shall be granted. Only try to find me out, so the prince, only try to find me out, no matter how I may be disguised, as I love you dearly, and in making me happy, you will find your own happiness. Be as true-hearted as you are beautiful, and we shall have nothing left to wish for. Beauty says, what can I do, prince, to make you happy? The prince says, only be grateful, and do not trust too much in your eyes, and above all, do not desert me until you have saved me from my cruel misery. And then
Where'd she find this guy? Just wandering around the castle?
She goes to sleep.
Oh,
This is
dream
a
scene. Okay, got
dream
it.
sequence. So dream sequence, handsome prince shows up, says,
All these wonderful things.
yes,
Yeah.
but also only try to find me, no matter how I may be disguised. Wink, wink. Like it's like Beauty is not picking up on these hints, right? So she'll go through this dream, and then she wakes up and she's like, I know what's going on. The beast has imprisoned this beautiful prince, and I need to search around the castle to find him. So she'll go and look room to room. I didn't mention there's a second part to her dream. She after she talks to the prince, she finds herself in a room with a stately and beautiful lady who said to her, Dear Beauty, try not to regret all you have left behind you, for you are destined to a better fate. Only do not let yourself be deceived by appearances. And I'd say that's probably that's the line that gets repeated. So if you're looking for the moral, do not let yourself be deceived by appearances. Seems pretty close to what it would be here. Now, I don't think he's done it at this point. I'm trying to remember, but the beast will start a habit of every night they'll have dinner, they'll talk for an hour, and then at the end, the beast will say, Beauty, will you marry me? And he does this on either the first or second night that she's there, so it starts very early.
Forward, that guy.
Yeah, very, very forward. But understandably, she says no each of these times. She continues to dream of this prince every night and wants to find the prince.
He continues to say, don't be deceived by appearances.
Says the same message every single time. She meets with the stately woman as well, does not pick up on what is going on.
It reminds me of, in the Odyssey, Penelope has a dream that Odysseus is coming back. Well, she dreams that an eagle comes and destroys all the annoying geese in her yard. And then she's like, what could it mean? And then the eagle goes, I'm Odysseus. I'm back and I'm going to kill the suitors. And she wakes up and she's like, what could it be?
What could it mean? It's incredible. So Beauty is not picking up on this. She's wandering around. She finds a library. She finds the room with all the birds I told you about. But then she eventually gets homesick. She's been there for a while. She misses her family. She wants to go back home.
She misses her terrible family.
Who put her up to this?
Yeah.
That's it. This is funny. So keep that in mind. So she goes to the beast. She's like, hey, I want to go back and see my family. Just give me 2 months. Just give me a little bit of time to go back and see my family. And the beast is like, this may kill me to have you go. I may die from heartbreak from you leaving because he loves her so much. They're getting close. But he's like, if that's what you want, then I will. Yes, you may do that. How can I say no to you? So he sets up, allows her to leave.
On the magic arrow horse.
Magic arrow horse that just goes directly back to her house. At this time, she gets a cool ring that will teleport her back to the beast castle.
Sick.
Isn't that cool?
This is so cool.
This is super cool. So she goes back, and she's actually kind of disappointed, kind of, Graham, for the reasons you're she goes back, and she kind of feels like she's in the way because everyone's moved on past her. Her the daughters are have boyfriends and they have a life of their own. The sons are happy to see Beauty, but they just all kind of have their life now, and So she stays for the sake of the sons and her dad, who are, again, happy to see her. But she kind of keeps pushing off going back to the beast because she knows that he said he would die if she actually left, which, she doesn't want to do. But she also doesn't really want to be locked up forever in this castle. And
it's like the feeling of coming back to a school when you're an alumni.
yeah, that's right.
Right? Like
You're expecting some big, hey, everyone, they're back. And it's just sort of like classes have moved on. Your teachers have new classes.
I don't know any of these kids anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not really part of the thing.
Can't go home again.
Yes. And so she is putting off going back to the castle. And another thing that happens is that while she's away from the beast's castle, she stops dreaming of the prince. So those dreams stop. She misses those dreams. And then also, finally, she sleeps, has a dream where in the dream, she sees the beast dying, sees the beast on the ground, just has died, presumably because she has not come back to the castle, right? That he did, in fact, I think in this version, it is dying of a broken heart. Again, in different versions, it's because of the magic that turned him into a beast. But she sees him dying, and she realizes she cares for him, that she's deeply saddened by the idea of losing this person who maybe previously was a captor, was previously the person who forced her into this position, but who over time she has learned to have affection for, has learned to care for. And so this dream makes her realize, I need to get back to the castle. She tells her family, hey, I'm leaving, activates her magic ring, goes to bed, wakes up in the castle. So she teleports back to the castle, which again, super cool.
That is cool.
She wakes up and she can't find the beast. She can't find, there's no one there other than the beast, but she can't find the beast. And so she
would make tons as a getaway driver.
What's that?
Like a bank robber could just hand her the sack of cash and she could just click
disappears
that ring,
right away.
gunk.
You're thinking this through.
Bank
I like
robbed.
that. But she gets back. She can't find the beast, and she's really, really worried. She's running around. She's yelling. She's looking for where the beast could be, and she then kind of stumbles upon the part of the castle that she'd seen in her dream with the beast laying dead. And so she's panicking. She's nervous, and then she finds him. Quite glad to have found him, she ran up and stroked his head, but to her horror, he did not move or open his eyes. Oh, he is dead and it is all my fault, said Beauty, crying bitterly. But then looking again, she fancied he still breathed, and hastily fetching some water from the nearest fountain, she sprinkled it over his face, and to her great delight, he began to revive. Oh, beast, how you frightened me, she cried. I never knew how much I loved you until just now, when I feared I was too late to save your life. The beast says, can you really love such an ugly creature as I am? Ah, Beauty, you have come only in time. I was dying because I thought you had forgotten your promise. But go back now and rest. I shall see you again by and by. So he was about to die. I prefer to read it as he was taking a nap and she just threw water on him to wake him up and everything was actually fine. He's just being dramatic. But he's fine. She wakes him up with water, but has realized there's affection in her that hadn't been there before. And so then that night they have their ritual of they eat dinner, they have their long conversation, and then the beast asks, Beauty, will you marry me? And she answers softly, yes, dear beast. And as she spoke, a blaze of light sprang up before the windows of the palace. Fireworks crackled and guns banged, and across the avenue of orange trees and letters all made of fireflies was written, Long live the prince and his bride. Turning to ask the beast what it could all mean, Beauty found that he had disappeared, and in his place stood her long-loved prince. At the same moment, the wheels of a chariot were heard upon the terrace, and two ladies entered the room. One of them Beauty recognized as the stately lady she had seen in her dreams. The other was also as grand and queenly that Beauty hardly knew which to greet first. But the one she already knew said to her companion, Well, Queen, this is Beauty, who has had the courage to rescue your son from the terrible enchantment. They love one another, and only your consent to their marriage is wanting to make them perfectly happy. I consent with all my heart, cried the queen. How can I ever thank you enough, charming girl, for having restored my dear son to his natural form? And then she tenderly embraced Beauty and the prince, who had meanwhile been greeting the fairy and receiving her congratulations. Now, said the fairy to Beauty, I suppose you would like me to send for all your brothers and sisters to dance at your wedding. And so she did. And the marriage was celebrated the very next day with the utmost splendor, and Beauty and the Prince lived happily ever after. The end. That's how you do a fairy tale, right?
It's pretty great. Pretty great. Did they ever talk about what enchantment, like how he got into this mess?
That's in a different version of the story that I'll say for the in between. It's this was the good fairy that just was calling out to Beauty to like love the prince and look past appearance. There's an evil fairy who fell in love with the prince, and then the prince rejected the fairy, rejected her. And so because of that rejection, the fairy cursed him. And then the curse was that you will not be, first off, the curse is you look like a beast, which is a bummer. But then also you will not have this curse broken until you are loved by someone, until you are loved by someone who loves you for your sake. And so then Beauty breaks that curse by declaring her love for the beast.
That's a weird setup for someone who just got rejected. Like, you're going to look bad until someone gives you the thing you wouldn't give me?
Yes. Because then it's almost like...
So then your life will be awesome because you got what I didn't get?
That's what I'm going to say.
That's a weird form of vengeance.
The evil fairy then like has to see him fall in love with someone else who has a purer love than that evil fairy ever
I guess
had.
the fairy's game was that she thought
no
that
one
would never happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So that is at least Andrew Lang's version, or the one that he collected as a part of the Blue Fairy book. Blue Fairy book is the first of the Rainbow Fairy stories, so there are many more after this. And then I meant to say, this, if you're ever looking for like original versions of stories from growing up, the Blue Fairy book is a good place to start. I'm just looking through table of contents. We have Sleeping Beauty. We have Cinderella. We have the Tale of Aladdin, Rumpelstiltskin, Beauty and the Beast we just read. There's another there's a version of Hansel and Gretel in here. Snow White, and that's I'm reading maybe a third of the stories that are in here.
I think Grimm's also has a few of those. Did you know that the glass slippers from Cinderella they weren't actually glass? It's a mistranslation from the German. What was it? Squirrel fur.
Is that true?
Yeah, the word looks like glass.
That's funny.
And so it was mistranslated. Who does a glass shoe? That's the worst idea ever.
Yep.
She breaks it, it's going to mess up her foot. But squirrel slippers,
you're not going to break
comfy.
that makes sense.
Comfy,
very, very
Yeah.
comfy.
She must have the tiniest feet. Squirrel's pelts are not that big.
Put a couple of them together,
Yeah.
right? Make
I suppose.
Okay.
Delicate work.
So is this like, a bachelor living on his own is kind of like unkempt and nasty looking but he's
made beautiful
until he's loved by until a woman comes and sort of cultivates him, or through good conversation he's sort of brought back to the realm of civilized humanity.
Yeah, it's tough because he is actually a decent person even before the transformation. So it really is just he ugly, and
just don't be deceived by appearances.
Is that it? I mean, yeah, he ugly. I thought so. Isn't the house like it's well kept?
It is well kept.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
Yes, very wealthy, but kind of he is reserved. So I guess you get some of that Darcy stuff but he wants to have conversation, but he can't really open up. Like he needs her to initiate that. Just I think that's per the spell that he's under. But yeah, otherwise he's a decent person. But the Disney version has this like he has done something wrong and he's punished for it. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't have that. The Lang version, there's no backstory really given. And then even in I think it's Villeneuve is the earlier one that has more of the backstory side. It's again something happening to him.
Do you prefer knowing a backstory, or would you like the enchantment where it's just sort of like this fickleness of the fairies, or do you want a backstory so you can like judge whether or not he should or should not get his apotheosis?
I don't think it adds a lot. The original, the Villeneuve version, I think is a novel. I think it's like 200 pages of Beauty and the Beast, which is like fine, but I don't like. I think the 20-page condensed version here gets you all the points, and I think as you winnow it down like that, you also move from it being a story to it being an archetype, and I think that's what these fairy tales are. There's some like truth underneath it, and the more you cut out the extraneous details, the closer you get to what's the underlying reality the story tells you. So I like that by focusing it more and more.
So Belle is beautiful because of her goodness and her purity of heart and her virtue.
Yep, that's right.
So I guess, so living that way is rewarded.
And that's, the characters, like their name is literally Beauty and Beast.
Sure.
And even the dad doesn't get a name.
Yeah.
He's just the father.
Yeah.
And so that, again, is getting like, sure, you can name them all, give them all backstories, but it's more about, I recognize who these characters are. I've seen people like them before. And I think that's more compelling. That's more interesting to read about.
I feel like I was a pretty decent person, but then once loved, I was transformed into a handsome
A better
prince.
person.
And,
Yeah. Again, we already established you are the beauty of this podcast. So yeah, that must be it.
My question is, how many princesses did I miss by just being like, ew?
Maybe one of them cursed you.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is that why? Did you just call me ugly? Is that what you're saying? I'm cursed. This is how I got this way.
That's funny.
This is why we're doing a podcast and not a show, gents.
Yeah.
All right. And with that,
YouTube is literally right there. Hold on.
but I have a big black thing in front of my face that
that
you
is
guys
true.
don't
I do
have.
laugh about that. Yeah. That's
All
good.
right. Well, this has been Classical Stuff You Should Know. You can find us on classicalstuff. Patreon.com/classicalstuff. You can find us on the tweets at CLSSCAL stuff. You can go to our website, classicalstuff.net. You can reach us out to us via email at theboys@classicalstuff.net.
Nope. The guys.
The guys.
Yep.
The guys at classicalstuff.net. And I think that's it. So anyway, love each other. Well,
Ciao.
I guess.
Bye.
Bye.